Happy Wednesday and welcome to the download from 24 IT Services. I've had a couple of weeks where I've not been doing the show. I've been doing things like HubSpot training that we're just in the middle of getting onboarded here. Unfortunately, last week my guest had to postpone due to an unfortunate thing in their family, so wishing them all the best with that. But yes, I'm back again this week, and I'm joined by my special guest co-host for this week. Let's switch over to my in-room co-host, Bree 1X Fox. If you know, you know. If you want to find out more, head over to Bree's LinkedIn page because there's a full story about it. But
Yeah,
I couldn't help but include that in the introduction.
that's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it.
How are you doing this week, Bree? Are you keeping okay with the warm weather?
Yeah, I'm just about coping. I don't do well in the heat. I'm very pale skin, so I have to try and stay in the shade. I actually burnt at the weekend, at my daughter's football tournament, and it was really
Really?
windy, it was really cloudy, and I've come away sunburnt, and I didn't even
Oh,
realise.
no.
Honestly.
See, the reason why I wear caps is it's partially so that I don't sunburn on the top of my head,
Yes.
bald, but it's a public service. I don't want to reflect the sun and blind someone when I'm out and about. It's like,
Yeah,
anyway, I do have a problem with this. Like I say, being bald, I have to make sure I keep my head covered, especially in
absolutely.
hot weather. But I'd burn on like the top of my ears and my nose
Yeah.
all the time.
I used to be really bad with the kids when they were little, like, give me your ears. I always used to make sure the
Yeah.
ears were covered always.
Yeah, we do that with our kids all the time now, especially like with them being off now for summer. It's like
Yeah.
leaving home in the morning. It's like, right, have you got your sun cream on? You did this, yeah.
Caps, everything, the whole shebang, yeah.
But yes, let's get on with the news stories for this week. Of course, we covered tech, AI, and cyber news,
Yes.
usually from the last week. However, with me not doing a show last week, I've included a few extra stories in there as well. So we've got 4 news stories lined up to begin with today. First one being Microsoft have confirmed the existence of a global device identifier, or GDID, in Windows 11 that cannot be turned off. This actual news came from I can't get my words out already. This news came as a 19-year-old hacker and a member of the Scattered Spider hacking group, Peter Stokes, was arrested in April after being identified as being involved in a 2025 $8 million ransomware attack on a US luxury jewelry retailer. Stokes was arrested as Microsoft had actually handed the FBI a way to be able to track his Windows devices activity across VPNs and proxy servers, and even through 3 countries, believe it or not.
Wow.
A Microsoft representative actually described the GDID as a persistent device level identifier designed to uniquely identify an installation of a Windows operating system on a device, either physical or mobile, laptop, things like that, or a virtual machine as well, where they could exist in the cloud or even a secondary virtual machine on people's device, across Microsoft services and different scenarios, which is scary to think about, that Microsoft have been able to identify one person across even VPNs, which I use a VPN provider to be able to protect my privacy. It's especially useful like if I'm on public Wi-Fi, which is known
Yeah.
to be relatively unsafe. I always turn on my VPN just to be able to protect any traffic if I'm loading up a bank or if I'm accessing a secure service or anything like that. I don't want people to be able to see that, but to think that if I'm on a Windows laptop, that people could potentially still track that activity. Ugh, a little
Yeah.
bit scary. Microsoft used the GDID to be able to manage software licensing and Windows Store apps. This is to protect people not using a single license across like multiple different devices, of course. It's because it links all of these different activities back on that computer, back to that single identity, that law enforcement have been able to then track this device to its true owner across the internet. Whilst the GDI doesn't survive a clean install, it does link that GDID to a user's Microsoft account. So it means that if one person is signed into their Microsoft account, those GDIDs are linked to that, and the activity from that is also then linked to that. So one Microsoft account could potentially have multiple GDIDs if people have got multiple laptops or a desktop or virtual machines all in that single account as well. I suppose the talking point question on this, and again, it's quite a technical topic, but
Yeah.
kind of bringing it back down to the user level. whilst in this instance it's been used to be able to track a cyber criminal, what are the potential misuses of a GDID for the average user? Could it be used to track or surveil people from across the internet? And should Microsoft have disclosed that a tracking feature like this could be used on its users? Could it now be targeted for misuse?
I think I think you're right. I think it could potentially be used for targeting
Yeah,
um, the everyday person. I think disclosing it puts them in a risky place.
yeah,
I think it opens up a lot more questions than it does answers.
yes,
Using it for the thing is when somebody's using their technology, it shows activity, but doesn't show necessarily what they're doing, doesn't explain the behavior behind
yeah,
it. And a lot of what we use is just normal day-to-day stuff.
yeah.
Obviously, if they're finding it for criminals and other things, I get the point of it, but it does open up the concern of what else is it going to be used for? Are other people going to try and use this for malicious intent?
Precisely, precisely. And whilst, like I say, I use a VPN personally, I don't use it for malicious purposes. I
No.
just use it to protect my privacy if I'm on public networks and things like that. Or if I might want to watch something from the US that isn't available in the UK on an Apple TV or something like that. Anyway, that's beside the point. But like I use a VPN,
Yes.
but I don't use it for malicious purposes.
No.
Yes, cyber criminals often do. They use a VPN to be able to simulate that they're in multiple different locations, potentially stacking VPN access across different countries. And they do that to be able to hide their activity. But that doesn't mean that the average user who's using a proxy VPN service is doing that for malicious intent.
No.
And the danger is that if Microsoft have got this global device identifier in place, yes, at the moment they're using it and they're trying to do it for good purposes. The the danger is that it could be used for malicious intent, and we've seen this in the US recently, where CCTV systems. I forget the name of the company. I'm really sorry about this, but CCTV systems in major cities are being used by sometimes even police officers to be able to track X's and stuff like that, like identify their license plate and track where they've been and things like that. The problem is that these things can be used for malicious purposes as well, and
Yeah,
it's
power
about
can be abused by
yeah,
different companies, organizations, authorities, and we're not necessarily going to be any wiser that they're doing this.
yeah. At the moment, it's unknown. It's
Yeah.
unknown. So I think it's a developing, not just developing story, but a developing thing that people need to be aware of. And yeah, I suppose only time will tell is as cybersecurity news evolves and AI will come to this shortly, is
Yeah.
used in cyber attacks. Could this GDID be used to be able to track people's activities? Um, Moving on to the next story, Fairlife, the dairy subsidiary of the Coca-Cola Company, were forced to temporarily suspend its US production last week, actually, following a major cyber attack. Fairlife's IT systems, including elements of its production processes, were actually accessed by cyber criminals who ultimately launched a ransomware attack on the brand. Coca-Cola have said this week that they've been able to resume production following more than a week of downtime, which was caused by the Anubis hacking group, who stole over a terabyte of data from the company. They still have access to this data, Coca-Cola. They were able to restore backups from what I've been able to assume. However, the Anubis group were able to steal this data and could potentially be using this data for malicious purposes or selling it on the dark web or just releasing it. I haven't seen yet what information this was included as part of this ransomware attack, and it could be potentially information on employees, it could be information on clients, and it could be suppliers and things like that as well. So there's lots of different things that this type of data could be used for by cyber criminals in the future. It is worth noting that the Canadian operations weren't impacted by the attack. However, it's not yet known if there was any link between the two and any data that was shared that could have also had a knock on impact. But this is just another example of the growing cyber threats that manufacturers around the world and other elements of the supply chain as part of the manufacturing process are being targeted through operational technology and production and logistics and other operations. we've seen at 24 that there's been a drastic shift in how cyber criminals are targeting business in these sorts of industries. I mean, we were at events, I've spoken about this briefly on the podcast, but we were at Intralogistics, which is a logistics focused expo. Earlier this year, we were exhibiting, and the amount of different people who came up to us and said, either as part of the logistics manufacturing, there was also a manufacturing aspect to the show as well. I forget the exact name of that aspect, but um, either as part of logistics, warehousing, or manufacturing, they're now being asked more and more to be able to prove that they're following basic levels of cybersecurity as part of even tender processes.
Wow.
This is part of the reason, actually, why, again, this is breaking news. It's not even out on our website yet, but we have become Cyber Essentials assured. So it means that we can actually certify people for Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus.
Whoop.
So yeah, again, breaking news. It's not even on the IASME, which is the governing body for this. It's not even on their website that we're like listed yet. We should be listed sometime within the next 7 days, I believe.
Amazing.
But yes, we've officially passed everything now, so I'm really happy with that. But I suppose the question that links into this is that should manufacturers, whether it's in the UK, whether it's elsewhere in the world, should they have to meet a minimum level of industry standard to be able to say, yes, I have the right cybersecurity processes in place to be able to protect my business and my suppliers and my customers from having this data stolen and potentially being used for malicious purposes?
I think they should have it, but I don't think it should just be have to tick a box.
Yes.
It needs to be practical. It needs to be
Proven.
proven, updated,
Yeah.
regularly checked. You've
Yeah.
got to have those things in place. It's not shouldn't just be a tick box
Yeah.
exercise. Oh yeah, we jumped through these hoops and we tick this box and now we've got it. You've got to make sure that it's purposeful as well because,
Yes.
a lot of companies might not understand completely every route of their systems that they've got. So
Yeah.
you've got to make sure that it meets the needs of their systems specifically, not just a tick box exercise of, oh yeah, we've done it now.
Yeah, and that's why Cyber Essentials Plus specifically in this case is important, because Cyber Essentials, you can do a self-assessment on it. You can say sign a like a an assessment to say yes, we have all of this, but there's no proof then behind that
No.
you do have that. Cyber Essentials Plus actually not only is more stringent with that, but it involves an independent audit that has to be verified. There's certain testing processes that are done throughout that to say, yes, you are doing all these things that you say that you're doing. And there's even tests that they will do on user PCs within a business. But also there's other considerations as well, especially when you think of manufacturers, and this is why we tailor all of our solutions and why we have sat next door compliance officer Dave, who like
Love his
goes
job.
into places and like looks for all these different things. Like when you think of a manufacturer, I used to work in manufacturing. I know that that shop floor in that manufacturer, they had machines that were running Windows 98. Like Windows 98 is not protected anymore. But the problem is that these older machines just can't be updated. They don't have the hardware
No.
to be updated. And in many cases, the software that they run just wouldn't run on newer systems. But if someone plugs a USB stick into that, someone, I don't know, walks in or they it hires someone and they've not done the necessary checks to make sure that this person isn't going to do anything for malicious purposes, I have no idea. But someone could plug a USB stick in. Have I got one to hand? No, I don't. USB rubber ducky. We've talked about the rubber ducky at different shows before. If you want to see one in action, I've got a brilliant demo that shows you not only how you can easily steal data off of people's devices, but I don't know, use it for a bit of fun and launch a Rickroll on someone's laptop when they don't know. But like you can just plug in a USB stick and launch a cyber attack on someone's network.
Wow.
Like that one device that is running an older version of Windows could be used as a launching point for a much wider cyber attack. And unless people have the necessary protections in place on the network side as well, not just on like the user devices that people use every day, like unless there's the network security process in place, that could potentially have serious knock-on effects. Serious knock-on effects.
Yeah.
So yeah, I personally think that there should be more stringent processes in place, and like you say, that independent verification that these security tools are being used to protect the way that those different businesses work, it shouldn't be a tick box exercise. It shouldn't just be, yes, I do this. It should be, yeah, no, this is designed to protect exactly how your business operates.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to be able to see how things develop, especially with people like in the UK, Jaguar Land Rover last year got attacked. Their systems were down for much longer, I believe, and it cost. In fact, the government actually had to bail them out in that case because it had not only an impact on them, it had a knock-on impact on their supply chain, who weren't able to work because of it, who rely on them for a lot of the business that they do.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next news story this week. This is a little bit of a light one. I thought it was really interesting because I don't know about you. Sometimes I get a device, it comes with a cable, but I've already got a cable lying around. I'm like, all right, I'll just use that cable instead. No joke. In fact, can I pull it out from under my desk?
That big bag under your desk.
There we go. Back when Bose had a shop, if people can hear me, back when Bose had a shop in Meadowhall, this big bag is full of my spare cables. I don't know. Sorry, I had Stitch sitting on. It's my little Christmas Stitch. I had Stitch sitting on top of that bag. But yeah, I don't know what all those cables are. Like, I can guess because the colouring of the ends will usually tell you that if it's USB 1, USB 2. But I don't know the speeds that they are able to support all the time. I don't know the power requirements that they're able to support. But a developer has actually created a free app for Mac called What Cable, which allows users on a Mac, unfortunately it's not available for Windows, I'll go into that in a minute, to understand what their cables are capable of, how much power it can deliver, how fast the transfer data can be. And it can even display like the highest resolution and response rate of cables as well, especially for USB-C and things like that. But like I say, it is only available for Mac as Windows isn't capable of passing through the right information into the software to give users the information that they need. And I just thought it was really useful. I used it earlier this week to be able to see. I was looking for a Thunderbolt 4 capable cable, and I was like, I've got USB-C cables everywhere. But whilst those USB-C ports are exactly the same as Thunderbolt 4, Thunderbolt 5, I don't know whether the cable that I have is capable of supporting that power and transfer speed. So I was looking through my cables, just plugging them into my Mac, and it was like, oh, yeah, this is a Thunderbolt 4 capable cable that's capable of those faster transfer and charging speeds. And I was able to give that to someone who needed it for a particular purpose. I just thought it was a really nice thing to be able to do. But whilst this is a good bit of Mac news, it is worth noting that there are some not quite good Mac news in the past couple of weeks. There's been a number of click-fix style info stealing attacks where one of these was called Crash Stealer, disguises itself as an Apple Crash Reporter tool, which, to be fair, I can't remember the last time I saw an Apple Crash Reporter because my Mac never crashes. But that's beside the point. But this particular tool is designed to steal login credentials from users and even crypto wallet details. Another one was called ClickLock, which constantly pop-ups logging information to be able to on the victim's device and prompting them to be able to give admin level permission. It could be for like a software update or something like that until people finally accept it, and before they know it, they've shared all the credentials. It is important to note, though, whilst I'm saying this, that this last week, we were talking about this before the show, actually, Apple released iOS, iPadOS, macOS, tvOS, watchOS, anyway, all of the latest macOS and Apple operating systems, 26.6, that's what I'm trying to say, which have collectively addressed hundreds of security vulnerabilities, improvements across their systems. I've been running this now for a few days, very stable, not had any crashes. I've done my computer and my phone and my iPad. So I highly recommend people, if you're using an Apple device that supports 26.6, to update as soon as you're able to, because it will keep you protected from some of the security vulnerabilities that attackers are attempting to exploit. But I suppose the talking point question on this, the latter part of this topic, the cables is another thing entirely, but whilst Mac computers and even iPhones and iPads are known to be more secure, do you think that if users were constantly being prompted, oh, sign in to approve this update, sign in to do this, sign in, like, do you think that those constant prompts from a potentially malicious piece of software would trick users through privacy and security fatigue into handing over their credentials.
Yeah, totally. I'm the same. So, like you said, we spoke about this before the show. When the new updates come out for the iOS on my phone, I don't update it immediately.
Yeah.
I always wait a couple of days because usually there's a couple of glitches or there's some sort of teething problems. Um, so I initially ignore the update, but the more and more I get it, or if I'm on my Mac at home, if I'm getting it constantly pop up, that is just gonna it's just gonna annoy me.
Yeah.
I'm eventually just gonna go, okay,
Just
my
go-
password in. I might not properly check, and check what it is that I'm doing. If it's the same message repeatedly coming up, I'm just
Yeah.
probably going to assume, oh, I really need to do this.
Yeah.
Apple's telling me I need to do
It's
this.
constantly prompting me, so it must need to be done.
I've got to do it. So
Yeah.
just do it now. And then, like you say, you put your password in, and before you know it,
Yeah.
they've got access to everything on your PC. And like, I don't know, like you, but pass keys and all that kind of stuff across
Yeah.
all my different devices. So it all links it. So it's easy for me to use and transfer data and everything. That's everything gone. That's everything
Yeah.
accessed in one easy password.
Before you know it, and the problem is that with attacks like this, is that they could be used for session stealing attacks.
Mm,
Now, for those that don't know, a session stealing attack is where if you're logged into a browser on your computer, if you suffer a session stealing attack and you've got, I don't know, your bank's open in one tab, you've got LinkedIn open in another tab, you've got your Instagram and Facebook open, you've got, I don't know, any number of online accounts, Amazon, for example.
yeah.
If you suffer a session stealing attack, what cyber criminals are able to do is take all of those live sessions, or already logged in, by the way, so they don't need a password, they don't need a username, they don't even need a multi-factor authentication code. They can take all of those active live sessions and copy them onto an attacker's computer.
Wow.
And instantly, if you're already logged into your bank, that means a cyber criminal's logged into your bank. So people aren't really aware that these session stealing type of attacks are even a thing. And if someone, through privacy or security fatigue, accidentally grants a cyber criminal access to all of this information, it could have serious knock-on effects. Think of it in terms of a business. If, I don't know, your accounts team is signed into your business accounts at the time when they grant this sort of access, what sort of financial implications could that have? If they're signed into a, I don't know, CRM, which is storing potentially hundreds of customer details or supplier details, thousands maybe, a cyber criminal all of a sudden just has access, free reign over all of that data to do with what they want.
That's a really scary concept.
Yeah. So these sorts of things are really important that people need to be aware of. If they're getting a prompt on their computer to be able to grant admin level access and type in the username and password, what are they actually typing that in for? What could that be used for? And I suppose it's people like ourselves, 24, who are able to give the right guidance on that and even remotely approve only authorized administrator requests as well.
Yeah.
We have a what is called a zero trust tool, which is actually a suite of tools which monitor what a tool is designed to try and do. So if you're being asked to provide admin credentials for something, once you grant those admin credentials, what will that then do? Will it try to access a browser? Okay, if it's trying to access a browser, what is it trying to do with that browser? Is it trying to copy information from it? Okay, well, that's not something that will be allowed, so we prevent it. So all of these sorts of layered cybersecurity tools are really important to protect people against exactly these types of attacks. But I say not many people know that these types of attacks even exist in the first place. Moving on to the next and last news story for this week, actually, and this is a rabbit hole. I saved this one to
Yeah.
last because, yeah, it's a rabbit hole. So last week, OpenAI, makers of ChatGPT, admitted that GPT 5.6 Sol, which is a powerful cybersecurity variant of its model, and an unreleased frontier model that we don't know what what name, what version it is, or anything like that, managed to escape a digital sandbox, basically an isolated environment, find its way out of that system that was not connected to the internet, and then hack Hugging Face, the group which kind of hosts a bunch of different AI models. But it was able to hack Hugging Face as it had determined that Hugging Face had the solutions it needed for the Exploit Gym Cyber Benchmark, which consists of more than 900 tests to measure if a AI agent can turn a known software bug into a working exploit. Well, I can guess that it probably did actually turn a bug into an exploit, managing to escape a system. But yes, OpenAI had set this Exploit Gym benchmark to try and test these new models. And Hugging Face were hacked off of the back of it. This is, however, despite Hugging Face publishing on the 16th of July that an autonomous agent framework had actually ran thousands of actions across its network. They'd used models such as Fable 5 from Anthropic and GLM 5.2 to investigate the attack. But it wasn't until the 21st of July that OpenAI actually admitted that their model was the ones responsible for the intrusion. Bleeding hell. In an emergency briefing with hundreds of cybersecurity professionals, Hugging Face has described what it was like to be on the receiving end of the world's first fully autonomous cyber attack, more than likely. Describing how the AI worked at superhuman speeds and made strange decisions and mistakes that no human hacker would have ever made. But it didn't even stop there. So a report this morning from the BBC that I read said that OpenAI have now also revealed that its AI model was able to log into 4 other unnamed services after finding login credentials online.
Wow.
Oh my god. Now, I suppose the question, there's many questions around this, so I'm gonna get them all out at once because we can tackle them in any which way. I think from this. So either this is a fantastic marketing method by OpenAI to showcase how advanced their security models are by able to autonomously escape an isolated environment and also hack 5 different businesses in total. Or this could be a sign of things to come as things become more advanced. Do we think that, I don't know, cyber criminals could then eventually use these tools to be able to conduct their own types of attack? And do we even think that businesses are prepared? I mean, Hugging Face, who are hosting many of these models, weren't prepared to be able to be breached by this sort of attack. Or, finally, is this just like a Jurassic Park level of cyber attack where eventually life will find a way and it'll just become difficult to stop them, and I don't know, Terminator like end of the world scenarios will happen? It's like, honestly, I have seen that many different takes on this news story over this past couple of days that, yeah, it's where do you see things going, Bree? Do you think that businesses are in any way prepared against potential advanced threats like this?
Honestly, it's just a minefield, this one. So like you say, you can go from the extremes of like Jurassic Park style, it just takes over Terminator and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we laugh about it, but it's wholly probably possible
Yeah.
in the future.
There is an
How
eventual outcome.
Yeah. It's like you said, it moves at superhuman speed, however, makes mistakes humans wouldn't.
Yes.
But the thing is even if they were to pick up in the moment that this thing was happening,
Yeah.
it's moving so quickly, a human isn't able to stop it.
No.
So then we're going to have to create other AI to stop the AI,
Yeah.
and then it becomes, robot on robot. And
Yeah.
like you say, then it's a very futuristic Jurassic Park style,
Yeah.
like you mentioned. But I think having stronger systems and clear accountability would help everybody. I think SMEs probably need to look at, these AI powered like attacks and tricks and things to try and make sure that they're secure. And that's where it kind of feeds back into what you guys are doing here.
Yes.
With your, what's it called again?
The Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus. Basically, it's the cyber assurance scheme where we're able to certify people and put all of the necessary tailored solutions in place to keep businesses secure.
That's it. So I think having those things in place, making sure you've got the right permissions, the right boundaries,
Yeah.
um, and making sure that things are designed appropriately for your workplace.
Yeah.
Because I think having bad designs is what's going to open people up.
Yeah.
You know, not having the right security in place, not having the right systems in place,
Yeah.
and staying up to date on the things like that you share, like the news
Yeah.
stories, and knowing what's available and what's
Education is
not.
a key
Yeah,
part of it, really, and that's
huge.
again, we were talking about this briefly before the show. That's part of the reason why I like to do these sorts of news stories in the podcast, because it it makes these sorts of topics relatable. It brings them down to people who aren't like looking at the latest technology news
Mm.
every day. Like, many businesses may not be aware that, I don't know, this sort of level of autonomous cyber attack could eventually find its way to them.
Yeah, because it moves so quickly,
Yeah.
because it's AI, it almost doesn't care what it's attacking.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
looking.
given a
It's on a
task.
mission and it's
Yeah.
finding the outcome of whatever it's set. Like you say, it's been given a task. It's trying to find the outcome for that task, and that could affect big companies, like we've mentioned
Yeah.
earlier, or it could affect the everyday person.
Yeah. It could, and I think that as don't get me wrong, as AI advances, and it is advancing very quickly over
Yeah.
this past year or two, we will also see a lot of those advancements come into everyday environments. Like, many businesses are using AI now to be able to improve productivity,
Mhm.
efficiency, and like we've been creating AI tools for businesses for like the last year or more.
Yeah.
Like, we created one to be able to autonomously look at a business's orders inbox and be able to like find orders that people were sending in and put them into a like an order system that they had. Like,
Which is brilliant.
yeah, that saves that businesses like the equivalent of 2 days worth of resources a
Yeah.
week now, and those resources can be used on other things that are more important for the businesses. Like, these AI tools are helping businesses, but also as it continues to advance, people need to understand the security implications that some of these more advanced tools could
Can do.
have.
Yeah. I think the thing as well is like we don't need to panic. We don't need to shut it all
No.
down. We don't need to stop using it completely. Like we've said, it's making sure that the security is right,
Yeah.
that the purpose is useful and it's not just,
Yeah.
you're not just using it for the sake of using it, and
Yeah.
making sure that, it's being used to help optimize things for the people to make
Yeah.
life easier rather than making things more complicated.
Yeah. And our security tools have AI elements to them. Like, say, our zero trust tools intelligently look for the purpose of what something is trying to do. And if it's not an approved purpose, not an approved level of access, what it's trying to be able to accomplish, it will block it.
Yeah.
We have AI that's built into our cybersecurity monitoring tools as well. But like I say, as these attacks become more and more advanced, and like we say, the speed of some of them even
Yeah.
as well, it's important that people remember that if they don't have the right type of security in place, that they could be vulnerable. And if they need to speak to anyone, we're here. We're always happy to be able to help people. Just even sit down and have a coffee. We installed I will not say who. We installed a cybersecurity box that is assessing someone's network that's somewhere across the Yorkshire region. I'm not going to say where. Recently, and we were able to find that things like payment systems were able to be intercepted. They didn't have the right firewall security. They didn't have a number of different things. Like, we could access phones, gain admin level access to their phones. They just didn't have the right security processes in place. And we've gone through a lot of this with them already. Um, but it just goes to show that a simple scan can find massive vulnerabilities that could have major implications on businesses.
And they're quite easy to fix, right? In
Yeah.
terms of
Oh, yeah.
setting up the firewalls and things like that. They're quite,
We were able to give them immediate advice on things that they're able to do. And we don't currently work with this business at the moment. We're giving them this report completely free of charge. If they decide that they want to work with us after, brilliant. Like, we're more than happy to be able to get them secure and like get the right level of protection in place. But if they would rather work with an existing provider and just provide them with the data and say, we've been shown that we're not being protected in this way. We've been told that this is how we need to be able to remediate things.
Yeah,
Okay, we've given them the education, we've given them the advice, and it's up to them then to decide what they want to be able to do with it.
of course.
But yes, that's. I think that as these models become more advanced, again, we've talked about this OpenAI GPT 5.6 and their frontier model. We've talked about in previous episodes about Fable 5 and the restrictions that even the US government had on that, and they made that unavailable for, what was it, a couple of weeks nearly. I think it's something that we need to keep an eye on, and it's something that businesses need to understand that this could eventually reach them.
Yeah.
And if they put the processes in place to protect themselves now, it'll bolster their security for any type of attack in the future.
Prevention's always better than cure.
It is. And it's also a lot cheaper.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
But yes, moving on to this week's 24 top tech tip article
You
of
did
the
so
week.
well.
I nearly did it. It's my challenge every week.
Such a
24
tongue
top
twister.
tech tip article of the week.
Hey.
I don't know. How did I get stuck on article?
You
You'd
wrote
think,
this. You made this a thing.
yeah.
You chose those words.
How did I get stuck on article of all things? You'd think
Yeah.
out of the I get stuck on all of those. But yes, this week, and part of the reason why I thought Bree would be a fantastic guest this week to be able to discuss this. This week's article over on our website is about workforce productivity and analytics. Now, when you say that, it can immediately sound like an employer is snooping on you.
Yeah.
That's not the case. If used properly, in fact, if anything, it should be completely the opposite. The workforce productivity analytics tools give employers a clearer picture of how work is being distributed across their teams, where pressure is building, whether certain employees are carrying an unfair share of the workload. Like, is there a department in your business where one person seems to be doing a lot of the work and another person isn't doing as much work? I'm not saying that that person isn't doing their job properly, but could that workload be evened out between those two people to prevent untoward pressure? I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I mean, we were speaking again. This goes back to discussions we're having before the show. Burnout rarely happens overnight.
No.
It's built up through sustained overwork, long hours, staff shortages. It's employees constantly being asked to do more with maybe less time or less resources. A survey by EY that I found said that in 2025, UK employees reported a 62% increase in workloads over the previous year.
Wow.
And that can have significant knock-on impacts to the business.
And that's probably happened gradually over time as well. It's
Yeah.
not just happened, in a week. That's
Exactly.
And it's got to 62%. That's such a high number.
It is. And productivity analytics insights can help employers spot these warning signs that maybe staff are being overworked. Maybe they are doing longer hours just to be able to get the work done. It can help them spot these signs earlier. It can help rebalance these workloads. It can help them bring in additional resources if needed as well. I mean, we've recently brought in new technicians onto our first and second line service desks because we're growing at an increasing pace at the moment, and we knew that before we start to see an increase that it was starting to trend in the way where we would need extra people, and we don't want people to be given an unfair target to be able to help support people. If we can help them by bringing in other experienced people into those roles to help balance those workloads, it'll reduce those stresses, reduce those strains on people. But it can also make conversations about like the performance much fairer as well. Like different departments work in different ways. Like marketing in here works completely different to our service desk, works different to our project team. And it stops comparing everyone against generic measures that don't really provide an accurate picture into how individual people operate.
No.
Of course, transparency is essential as part of this. We need to make sure that employees are understanding. Yes, we are monitoring this, but we're monitoring it because we're wanting to be able to support you better. We want to be able to understand beyond just conversations, beyond maybe a quarterly or annual survey. Like, we want to understand in real time are there things that we can do to be able to support you to be able to make your job better and prevent burnout, hopefully, before it becomes a thing? The aim of this should never be surveillance for the sake of it.
No.
It's it's a process to create a healthier, balanced, productive workplace. We use these tools here. I'm going to say that outright. We use the workforce productivity analytics tools here, and it can help people prevent burnout. And now, don't get me wrong, people still have things that will get to them, things that are happening at home potentially. We're not saying that it will prevent burnout entirely, but it can help you identify where potentially their role, their department, are maybe under pressure and help you put in the processes and the tools in place to support people.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, part of the reason why I wanted to bring Bree on this week is to be able to ask, like, do you think that employers across the country, not just in the local region, do you think that these employers are doing enough to understand how they can better support their teams and prevent burnout through tools that could be available to them? Or do you think that people are just maybe asking the odd quarterly annual question and just hoping people will come to them if it's just not enough?
I think we're probably in a transitional period where there's a mix of both, being really honest. I
Yeah.
think some companies, like you've mentioned, you guys here, you do things well, you have workplace, analytics that you look at. There's other people who use it strictly as a tick box.
Yeah.
They'll do.
Or some people who will use it for malicious purposes.
And then you've got the malicious purposes,
Yeah.
to snoop, to see what they're doing, and that's not how it should be measured. Like, I worked in a workplace before, I'll not mention where,
Yeah.
but it felt like if my team's status wasn't green, I was seen to be not working.
Yeah.
Whereas that was not a reflection of what I was doing in my day.
No.
It's this thing of feeling like sometimes you can be micromanaged. You could, like, say, it's more of a surveillance thing where people, you just feel like you're being watched constantly. Are you online? When was the last time you updated a document? When was the
Yeah.
last time you saved some work? And that adds the pressure that ends up causing burnout.
Yeah.
I unfortunately experienced burnout several times due to the jobs that I've been in.
Yeah.
And it's not a nice place to be, and you don't realize you're there until, not that it's too late, but
Yeah.
you're too far gone. And burnout takes a much longer time to recover from properly, if you're doing it properly, than people realize.
Yeah. Oh,
It's not
definitely.
just have a couple of days off and you're fine again. That's not how it works. So for me, these workplace productivity analytics, or things like that, they need to look at measuring friction and not
Yes.
just visible activity. So you've got to measure the friction that the employees are experiencing, and we have to reduce the friction one point at a time.
Yeah.
Just being online now. I probably shouldn't say this,
No,
but in
go for
my
it. Go for it.
previous jobs, because we had this pressure to be green online all the time, I would find a way to make sure it looked like I was green, even if I wasn't.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I wasn't working.
No, no,
But I
definitely.
just needed to try and alleviate this pressure from above of, I've got to be seen as green.
Yeah.
I could have
I've
been
got to be moving my mouse around just because it makes it look like I'm doing something, sort of
I
thing.
didn't move my mouse. I was really sneaky, and I actually just made one of my keys open a Word document and put a weight on a key so it usually worked. That's so naughty. But I was working. I just wasn't necessarily
Yeah,
online.
you might have been doing something else in the office, but because you weren't sat in at the computer at the time.
Exactly. And I like writing my notes and stuff by hand, and then it makes it easier for me to transfer them on digitally. So a lot of the time I'd be writing. So I'm not online because I'm physically writing.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I think when you're monitored like that, that's when it becomes surveillance. That's when it becomes a sticky situation
Yeah.
where you're not actually measuring that person's productivity or capability, might we add.
yeah,
You're just measuring the online status, or how many messages you've sent, or how quickly you reply to an email. But then they say, oh, don't stay online all day and make sure you're taking breaks. It's like, but how can
Yeah.
I do both?
yeah,
I think for me, a very quick check-in with your teams, whether it's Google Forms or,
Yeah.
whatever, just something that takes less than a minute.
Yeah.
Because if you have that data, you can't track something if it's not monitored.
Yeah.
And I say that in the sense of, we're looking at this to reduce friction.
Yes.
So if you can monitor and you can get feedback from your staff regularly, and they can buy into this as well, they've got to be on board with this. It can't be them being forced, because that's going to feel maybe like they're being surveilled as well.
Exactly.
If it's one of those things where all the team are involved and they understand the purpose of doing this quick 60-second check-in, then when you've got the data, you can see if there's any recurring themes. And if you can see the recurring themes or the patterns that are across the team, it doesn't have to be everybody. Even if there's just a couple of people who
Exactly.
feel the same way, that is something you can explore to reduce that friction, which then it will increase productivity, it'll increase work environment, like we spoke earlier about having a good work environment.
Yeah.
The culture that you have there, you can then shift those things where people do feel more comfortable to say, I'm really struggling right now.
Yeah.
My workload's too much. And it also reduces resentment between departments, like you
Of course.
correctly said earlier. The way that you work and the other departments work is so different, and
Completely
your
different.
KPIs shouldn't be measured against this. There shouldn't be the same KPIs.
No.
There should be different measures of success or improvements to the company, or whatever the point is for you guys that particular quarter or year. You're not going to have the same target, so you can't kind of pit you against each other, and that's what it feels like sometimes. So if you can have individual targets for departments and you can see where the friction is, you can reduce that, and then that boosts everybody, because they're not saying, well, I sat online for 8 hours but AJ didn't. Well, AJ doesn't need to sit online for 8 hours. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's there's different things that you monitor.
Even myself and Natalie, we work in the same department.
Yeah.
But the types of responsibilities that we have are different. Like what I will be doing in the middle of the day, like before this, for example, I was writing a news release.
Yeah.
Like Natalie might be then in Canva creating some digital assets that are going to accompany that news release. Like, just because we're in the marketing department, in air quotes, like, doesn't mean that we're all doing the same things all day, every day. And we shouldn't be measured as such either.
Mm-mm.
And I might be creating digital assets. I might be creating flyers. I was about to pull one off my desk, but I realized I put it up behind me. But yeah, like I might be creating flyers. I might be writing an article or something for our website, or I might be on LinkedIn, like talking with people or talking about an event that's coming up or arranging an event. Like we're looking at setting up a like a lunch and learn later this year in a.
Nice.
I'll not say where it is yet because we haven't confirmed anything.
Details.
But yeah, we're looking at setting up a lunch and learn where we'll invite people out from different industries to be able to come and speak with us. Like I could be doing all these different things, but next door in customer success, they might be talking to clients. So they might be on the phone for, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 minutes or more at a time. They could be on a Teams meeting.
Yeah.
Dave could be out like talking with clients about their compliance. He could be doing an assessment with someone. My wife could be purchasing laptops and desktops or phones, tablets, like we're all doing lots of different things, and we should not be measured on those a strict sort of everyone needs to be doing this at all times sort of thing. And like you say, it can cause friction if people are given unrealistic expectations. But also, like I say, if, say, for example, I'm going to use our support desk as a perfect example of this. If we onboard a client who's got 600 users, say, like we know that we'll see an increase in tickets.
Yeah.
Just because of that, because there's more people that could potentially, I'm not saying that they are going to, but they could potentially have issues in a day. And we need to make sure that we've got the right people and the right amount of people in place to be able to support that.
Of course.
Because otherwise it could cause friction and stress and potentially burnout on the service desk. And we need to make sure that our team, I mean, the IT service industry can sometimes feel quite stressful.
It's constant, phones ringing all the time, new tickets to deal with. And then on the flip side of that, if somebody does get burnout or they do become unwell, then they're off work, or it might become too stressful that they quit. And we've got to think about employee retention as well. And when you build those good teams that work together and can notice and identify things in one another and support one another, that creates the culture and the environment we were talking about. And that helps produce it helps to reduce burnout and stuff, because people feel supported within the workplace. When everybody feels like they're in their own cubicle and they're all being kind of pitted against each other, that's when you become isolated and you just think, I've got to keep going, I've got to keep going. And that's not a good place physically or mentally to be in for them personally or for the business. So it does work to recognize this friction, try and reduce it as much as possible, give the extra support and assistance where needed. And then that just has that positive like ripple effect. It can go one or two ways. You can either ripple out or ripple in, and ideally want to ripple out and it'd be a good thing.
Exactly. I mean, you said something to me before the show that it's so nice to hear people say this. You said you really love what you do, don't
I
you?
did, yeah, I did say that.
And that's something that I'm really proud of. I'm proud to say that I work at 24. I'm proud to do what I do. I love doing what I'm doing. I love coming to work. And we at 24 want to create that same environment for everyone here. We don't want anyone to feel like they're under too much pressure, like they're burnt out. Like we give people duvet days, even if they have something going off at home, that it's a paid mental health day.
That's amazing.
Just to be able to say, look, we understand that people face things every now and again. If you need that time, you can take that time. And I say we want to create an inclusive and just a culture where everyone feels like they can go to someone at any particular time and say, I'm really like struggling at the moment. Like I need support, and we will support them. So yeah, I love what I'm doing, but also I'm proud to work for a business that does that
Yeah.
as well. Um, but yes, going into the last part of this show, as always, the whole reason why I love bringing on guest co-hosts is because it gives me the opportunity to highlight the people and the businesses around the local region, and talk about who people are. Like, I've met Bree a number of times at different networking events. We've had brief chats, but we've never sat down for a length of time like
No.
this to be able to talk. And again, going back to before the show, I haven't brought this up yet, but I've got to show off this. She brought me in a little plant. I love this. And this just goes to show the type of like thoughtful people that we've got in our local business community who, like, she said she's got hundreds of plants around the house.
Genuinely, I do. I do. All the plants I've got in the house, they've all come from one plant originally.
Yeah.
So the plant you've got, as I bought that kind of plant, probably slightly bigger,
Yeah.
about I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, and that has just sprouted what I call babies, and then I've repotted
But
them
that
and
makes
planted
it
them.
mean so much
Yeah,
more.
it's like a great grandchild that
Yeah.
one.
I love this. So thank you very much for
You're
this. I
very
wanted to make
welcome.
sure I show it off. But no, tell me more about who you are, what you do, like a bit of your history as well. Because like you say, you've worked in other businesses before, but how did you come to be doing what you're doing now?
Oh gosh, okay. I'll give you the short version. Um, so I started off in sports coaching when I
Oh,
was
wow.
about 14, 15 years
What
old.
sport, by the way?
Basketball,
Basketball.
which everybody thinks is really funny because I'm only like 5'4", maybe 5'5" on a good day. So yeah, I play basketball, and that actually started from taking my younger sister. She's only a year younger than I am, but I had to
Yeah.
take her to basketball on a Sunday afternoon at the it's now called the Carr Fenton Foundation, but it
All
used
right.
to be
Yeah.
called the Doncaster School for the Deaf when I was younger.
Yeah. I had Alexis on the show only
Oh, did you?
a couple of weeks back,
Oh,
actually. Yeah.
brilliant. So yeah, so I used to go there, and the coach at the time was like, "Oh, you're really good with the kids. Do you coaching?" So
Yeah.
I did. Anyway, so I was a sports coach for a while whilst I was at school, things like that. Um, and then I originally had plans to go to university, and I wanted to be the next prime minister, which obviously I've not done because it's not for me. Politics is not my thing anymore. But yeah, so I went to university as a mature student and studied psychology, but I'd
Yeah.
always worked in kind of coaching and things like that and enjoyed it. I've worked in a lot of my background's mainly educational,
Yeah.
so special educational needs, behavior units, mental health and medical pupil referral units
Yeah.
as well. So I've got a lot of background in the mental health and wellbeing system, and also working with neurodivergent people.
Yes.
I used to be an SEN officer as well, so I actually used to write the education, health, and care plans for
Oh, really?
students, which involved quite a lot of work.
This is actually really relevant, and she doesn't know this yet. But
Okay. So
we've,
yeah,
we've just been fighting to get our son to his
brilliant.
EHC plan, and it finally got it just like the last week
Congratulations.
before he finished school. It'll support him going into his new school in September.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
yeah, we've been like, I didn't realize that, but yeah, that's really on topic.
Oh yeah, no, oh, that is very on topic. Yeah, that's kind of like my background, and I did that, and I've worked in local authority schools as well,
Yeah.
head of year, things like that. And my last job, I did behaviour outreach support for local authority. And it was one of those things where I was experiencing burnout in a lot of my roles. And that's why I ended up switching jobs. And I felt
Yeah.
like my children, I'm a mum of 3 children, and I
Yeah.
felt like at the time I wasn't able to give my kids the best of myself because I was in constant fight or flight with some of the environments that I was in and some of the work that I'd done.
Yeah.
And again, didn't realize it until I'd kind of suffered for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Um, and then unfortunately, my mum passed away a few years ago, and that was kind of the big epiphany. She was only 56.
Oh.
It's actually her birthday next month. She would have been 60. But it was her passing at 56, and I was just like, if I've only got 20 more years left,
Yeah.
20 more birthdays, 20 more Christmases, like, I do not want to be in jobs that physically make me unwell.
Yeah.
And that was my kind of epiphany moment of, right, you've always wanted to kind of set up your own business.
Yeah.
It's now or never. And I just kind of threw myself into it in that respect. Again, fell back on my coaching. So I went back to sports coaching. I did a lot of after school activities in primary schools and things like that and loved it. But it's quite restricted in terms of how many hours you can work because it's obviously only so much time after school, and within schools you can do jobs. Gradually, I'm a big nerd for like productivity and organization, and I just love it. Like it's such my bag. I can see things that people just can't, and I think that probably boils down to my own neurodiversity because I am diagnosed with combined ADHD.
All right.
And I have dyslexia as well. I got my dyslexia diagnosis at 25 when I went to university.
Oh, wow.
I did my psychology degree, which was a long slog because I had my daughter as well, which in my first and second year of university.
Yeah.
And she was very unwell when she was born. So
Really?
that was quite a struggle. But yeah, managed to come out with my 2-1, which I was really proud of
Yeah.
because I had to work really hard for that, missing quite a lot of university.
Yeah.
So yeah, psychology, the way the brain works, the way people think, the way people act, like that's just what I love. You know, like you love your
You've got that
job.
passion
Yeah,
for it.
that's my passion.
That's part of what makes you so successful at what you do, because you've got that passion for it as well.
Yeah.
You've got that drive, you've got that love of like
Helping people.
Yeah.
I want them to understand themselves a little bit better, and I want them to be able to help themselves. It's not about me coming in and telling people what to do. It's more about me coming in and raising the awareness, kind of helping them identify maybe their blind spots, or that saying of you can't see the wood for the trees.
Yeah.
I can kind of zoom out and then help them to back out a little bit so they can see it too.
Yeah.
It's just the way my brain works. And I've really kind of leaned into this now. And like I say, the productivity, the organization, the mindset, that's everything that I've worked on. It's everything that I've done for the last like 20 odd years.
Yeah.
And then more recently, I'm like, I've got to just accept the fact that my neurodiversity and my experience in that world is one of my specialisms. It's what I'm.
It's your superpower.
Yeah, exactly. And all 3 of my children are neurodiverse as well. We call it, not to offend anybody, because I know some people don't like this phrase, but we're very neurospicy. So that helps us to just kind of like make light of things. You know, one of my children is inattentive ADHD. My other child is combined ADHD and autistic.
Yeah.
And my youngest child is combined ADHD and on the pathway for an autism assessment.
Yeah.
So you'll know yourself, just those things are quite difficult to go through.
Oh, yeah. It can be a lengthy process as well.
So long, yeah. I mean, I was very fortunate that I managed to find a company who were doing them through the NHS.
All right. Okay.
And all my children were, since the application went into diagnosis, it only took about 4 months. We dropped on.
So a lot less time than we went through.
We didn't go through, but I didn't go through the school system because I know that takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
You know, having my background, I knew of things, and when I heard of a new provider come out, jumped in straight away. And like I say, within 4 months, the children had been diagnosed.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so lucky because I've been on the pathway for 18 months at the same time. So yes, the diagnosis but just the amount of questionnaires you've got to fill in. A neurodivergent person having to fill in all those questionnaires for themselves and their 3 children. That was exhausting. But it's done now. So so my lived experience as well as my career and educational experience all feeds into what I do now. So I focus on helping businesses to move from just neurodiversity awareness,
Yeah.
but to like practical action steps they can take.
Yeah.
And it's not about things costing them loads of money. It's about the little tweaks you can really make to every day to make it
Yeah.
easier for you and
Just
your employees.
processes even
Yeah.
sometimes, or just having meetings, or just being able to ask the right sort of questions
You're
and help
creating
with.
that culture again, AJ,
Yeah.
like you mentioned here. Like if you've got a culture that embraces the neurodiversity brain, like how it works and how that individual might work or that team, you can really see what their strengths are.
Exactly.
And it's about, for me, I focus on things like priority. I can work individually, I can work in groups, I do training, I do workshops, things like that. And I look at systems as well in terms of we consult on the systems they've got in
Yeah.
place. Because a lot of it, again, we go back to the systems and this friction. We want things to be reducing friction. We want things to be easier. We want there to be more communication. Look at things to do with, for example, meetings, like you mentioned, meetings. Some people can't focus in a meeting.
I sometimes struggle. I have, in fact, where is it? I'm gonna find it whilst we're talking. But
Okay.
I have
Like a
tool.
fidget?
Well, kind of, but because I sometimes go off on a tangent and I'll focus on
Digress.
a particular thing,
Yeah.
and then like that will become the one thing that I'll focus on.
Yeah.
I have, and Bree can't see this at the moment. It looks like this little black tube. I'm going to hold it up so that she can see it.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have this little black tool. It's called an Insta360 Wave, and there's lots of little different devices like this.
Loads.
But this is a meeting recorder, but it's an AI meeting recorder.
Brilliant.
So I set this on a desk, and like we had a company meeting last week, and we were in that company meeting for about 6 hours.
Oof.
I know that come the end of that meeting, what we discussed like 4 hours ago,
You've forgotten.
I've forgotten because I've become so focused on so many other different things. I'm struggling to follow, because there was like 10 of us, not 11 of us in this meeting. Like you're struggling to focus sometimes on where the path of the conversation is going.
Yep.
Like I need to find a way to be able to bring that focus back at the end of it. So this Insta360 Wave, plug it on the desk, set it going, it records it, and then feed it into something afterwards, and it summarizes what everyone said. I can even tag like AJ said this, or like Tony said this,
which is fantastic.
Yeah, and it then brings my focus back, because that's the way that I work. You were saying earlier how like you used to write in a notebook and then you'd type it onto a desktop. Look, Natalie's exactly the same, by the way. We've been doing this HubSpot training recently. She writes it down, then she types it up, and it helps her process that information.
Yeah.
This, just being able to like see that summary and go back and go, oh yeah, that was said. Oh, that was one of the actions that we need to take away. And even seeing the visual representation, because there's like a whole visual representation that it builds off of the back of it.
Brilliant.
So helpful for me.
Yep. And that's it. And the thing is, if you haven't got something like that,
Yeah,
there is ways you can follow up with meetings. You can either send an agenda beforehand so people have got a rough idea where it's going, because that always helps. You can follow up the email with, you can follow up with an email from the meeting, explain whose workloads what tasks are what.
Or even use tools like this to be able to help.
Exactly. Yeah. But if you don't have the tools, it can just be as simple as
just write
these are the jobs that were allocated.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people use things like a Notion board or Trello, and you can assign tasks and things on there. So there's other tools.
Rike, I think, is another one that people use as well.
Pardon?
Rike.
Yes. Yeah. Thing is as well, like task initiation can be quite hard for a neurodiverse person. So going from one task to another, you need that transition time, because like you say, they need to maybe process something. They might need to there's a word I'm looking for and I can't think of it. They might need to just like decompress from something that they've done before they can switch. Like task initiation isn't as straightforward for somebody who's neurodiverse necessarily. The workload as well, because sometimes a lot of people think everything's a priority, and in reality, not everything is a priority. Things might be important, but there is always going to be something that is a priority. And you think about the environment you're in, environment priming, making sure, your environment where you're sat right now, totally primed for everything you need to do. The amount of screens you've got, you are fully primed for what you're doing. But, having that quiet space, maybe for something, maybe having the allocated time, setting those, not being vague in the information that you share, giving set deadlines, making sure that people fully understand the task, and have, like we said about culture earlier, but having the language that the language you use in your businesses are very important. So one of the most invalidating things that people report back to me is when somebody says, oh, everyone's a little bit ADHD, aren't they? And
Oh,
It's the
yeah,
flip side. Exactly. So it's really hard if you don't have an executive dysfunction. When somebody says that, it can feel really, really invalidating. And then if they're working in that environment, they might not then feel like they can approach their team leader, their
yeah,
manager.
because they feel as
else.
if that what
Yeah, they feel
how
like they're
they
going
see
to.
things aren't important because,
Yeah, it's a little
oh
bit
yeah,
belittling.
everyone's like that. No, it's not like that.
No, and I think when you don't have that trust to have those conversations feel more difficult, and people avoid difficult conversations anyway.
Yeah,
But oftentimes people don't want to be a burden. Don't want to feel like they're asking the same questions. But actually, sometimes people need to hear something 2 or 3 times before they can properly process it.
yeah,
So, like regards to my dyslexia, mine isn't reading or writing. Very good at both, and this is why it came undiagnosed for such a long period of time. Mine's actually a specific learning disability, which it's about memory processing of academic literature.
yeah,
So when I studied my degree, I had to do a lot of like look into a lot of journals. And when you have to look at the old journals, the writing's like this big. It's on very like tatty paper. It's really hard. So I was advised to read things 3 times over for my brain to be able to fully process what I'd read.
yeah,
Now you can imagine when you're in a working environment, you've got to read something 3 times over. That can become really debilitating. It takes a lot
yeah.
more time. Looks like you're not performing as well. Looks like you're not as pro-
Productive.
productive, thank you, as everybody else. And then that can carry an extra weight. And then that's when, a lot of ADHDers in particular, they mask a lot of things.
Yeah.
Neurodiverse people mask, and then they are maybe taking work home, the working behind the scenes, and you don't recognize the working behind the scenes because they're just trying to catch up on the things they think they should have done in the day. And then this,
Even some people, I'm sorry, slightly going off topic. Some people find that they work best sometimes when they have the time to just focus on something.
yes,
And does that mean that they're maybe wanting to do extra work? Yes, sometimes it can be. Sometimes it just means that they want to do work in a different environment. We have
yeah,
people here that like to be able to do things away from the office
yeah.
that are for work, but they just enjoy doing them. But they enjoy doing them in their environment in
Yeah.
a way that makes them feel comfortable and productive.
And that's fine if it's not them feeling like there's the pressure to have to do that.
Yeah,
They're not the pressure to
100%.
perform. Like, some people like you absolutely love your job. And if you want to, and if you enjoy looking into things, then you might do it on an evening when the
Yeah,
kids have gone to bed, just because you're genuinely interested.
yeah,
And then that might feed back into your work at some point. I do think this is why flexible working, and I do think working from home has benefited a lot of neurodivergent people because well, just people in general, to be fair,
yeah,
because they have got those quiet environments, they've got those more comfortable environments. In terms of workload, a lot of people bring pressures to work from things from home.
mm,
Myself as a parent, as a single parent, it's difficult at times to manage that. When I've been working full time, it's difficult to manage the workload at home. So I'm constantly,
yeah,
distracted. And when the opportunity to work from home came about, it meant that whilst I'd finished that task and I was transitioning between, I could go and put that load of washing in. I could
yeah,
go and hang that load of washing. And it made the balance was so much more there for me. And I'm not saying that works for everybody, because actually, on the flip side of that, now I work from home, I do miss being in an office
yeah,
environment. I do miss having the work colleagues around me. I
yeah,
do miss the connectivity that I had with people. So there are pros and cons to both.
yeah,
But I think being able to have the option to do both,
yeah.
like you say, maybe work from home one afternoon, or
We have work from home Friday.
yeah,
Everyone is given the option. No, it's by no means required.
yeah,
Everyone is given the option to work from home. I still come in. My wife still comes in. We only live like 5 minutes away.
yeah,
And I prefer, like, going back to like people having how they prefer for their working environments and what makes them more productive, what makes them more like feel at ease.
hmm.
I prefer working in the office. I prefer having all my screens around me. I
And you can
prefer,
switch off when you get home, and then
yeah,
that's it. There's not that. I have a very specific place where I work at home,
yeah.
and when I'm done, I'm done, and I don't.
You walk away from that
Yes,
space
I
of
don't
that.
work from my bed. I don't work from my sofa, because
Yeah,
they are places that I want to associate with rest and
relax. Yeah,
relaxation, not working. If there's the odd time when working at my desk isn't working, I might go sit at the dining table. I might go work in a coffee shop. I switch things up.
yeah,
But like you said, you have the option. And I think that's the point here.
yeah,
It's having the option and the choice to be able to do those things, and for companies to be able to support their employees to do that, so you do get the best from your employees.
yeah. No, I think it's. I think creating the right culture,
Yeah.
I think, is incredibly important. I mean, I've spoken about this previously. We've worked with people at Harrison College. We've got a
Yeah.
person who used to be a student at Harrison
Yeah.
College. We've worked with them very closely to make sure that we've got the right culture in place to be able to support people who have a range of different neurodiverse needs. I can't get my words out.
It's quite a twisty word, that one, to be
Yeah,
fair.
I've always said that I've never been officially diagnosed.
Mhm.
Like, we've gone through the process now with my son. He's got his
Yeah.
official autism diagnosis. We've got his HC plan in place. But that, going through that process, I then look back at myself and I'm like, well, I'm identifying a few things
That's
here
how
for me.
most parents get diagnosed, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Go through the questionnaires, I go, "Oh, that's a little bit of me. That's a
yeah,
little bit of me.
exactly.
Yep,
My wife said it as well.
that's me."
Just,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a bit of me. That's a bit of me. Like, and we
Neurodiversity is
identified
hereditary
different
as well,
things. Yeah. And we keep thinking, like, if it was as not well thought of, maybe that's not the right word, but if it was as um important when we were younger,
Yes.
to like, you always had in school, I always remember that there was always, people would call them the troublemaker.
Yeah, it was a naughty boy syndrome.
Yes.
That's kind of ADHD, and this is why a lot of women have gone undiagnosed for such a long
Yeah.
period of time, and that's why now there's a boom in diagnoses because women are identifying these traits and these
Yeah.
symptoms, whereas back, in the, say, 90s, for example, it was typically seen as a naughty boy
Yeah.
syndrome. You very
We're removing that
Yes,
stigmatism now
yes,
with
we
it.
are, yeah.
And I say, maybe at some point I'll have a look and maybe have a look at official diagnosis. I don't know, but I
I think
do
it
see a
depends
lot
if you
of,
think it will help or if you want to know. Like,
yeah,
for me personally, I just wanted to know if I was right, because I felt like there was something slightly different about the way
yeah,
I was. I've always felt that way. And when I got the diagnosis, there was a mixed feeling of I was right, my
yeah,
brain does work differently, and there was that relief of,
yeah,
oh, thank the Lord, like I understand it a little bit better
yeah.
now. And then there was also a grieving part of that of, oh my, if I'd have just known this sooner, maybe I wouldn't have struggled for so
Yeah.
long in my life,
I
because I
could have
have had
helped
lots of
myself even
struggles.
more, or
Yeah,
people could have helped me if I needed it.
exactly. And
Yeah.
that's something, when I speak to people, it's a bit of a contradiction, because part of you's got this sense of relief of, okay, and I didn't realize actually how many strategies and coping mechanisms I'd already built, the
Yeah.
systems I'd put in place for myself and my children.
Yeah.
It's when my children got their diagnoses and we went through their assessments, I realized how much I had actually structured in
Yeah.
our lives for them to be successful, which is why they were successful for as long as they were. And
Yeah.
schools kind of didn't see as much of the struggles that we did.
And that's been part of our challenge with getting our son diagnosed, is that we'd supported him.
Yeah.
We'd helped him put in his own processes.
Yeah.
And also, he masks quite a lot.
Yes.
And he'll get to the end of the day and then release it.
Dysregulate when he's at home in his safe space, because that's
Yeah.
what often happens with children. Yeah.
And it's important that people understand that, yes, like we said with workplace productivity earlier, everyone works differently,
Yeah.
and all of these sorts of things need to be taken into consideration. And I think I missed it slightly earlier in the show, but I'm going to come back to it now.
Okay.
Dean Cook from Ambispace
Yeah.
sent a message saying, this is slightly off topic, although this was probably off topic at the time. It's probably on topic now. But I wondered if you agree with the use of fidgets to regulate yourself. I recently had a debate at Ambispace about fidgets, with many of us saying that our new fidget pens were really helpful. This
I
debate
want to see
came.
these fidget pens.
Sorry?
I want to see these fidget
Well,
pens.
I was going to bring up, because I've got a pen that I fidget with throughout the day, but
Yeah.
he went on to say this debate came out because some local schools recently banned fidgets from students unless they had a diagnosis, which I think again is wrong. But and we were using a fidget provided by the school. What are your thoughts about this? Now, I wanted to bring this up because I've got this pen here. Looks like a regular silver pen. I'm just going to hold it up so we
Yeah.
can see it. Looks like a regular silver pen, but it's one of these like bolt action pens where you like push it down and you can like flick it. But I find that oddly satisfying. If I'm thinking about something,
Yep.
I'll sit with that just in my hand and I'll just keep fidgeting with it. And it helps me focus a little bit, because my hands aren't like wanting to do something else. They're not wanting to be on my mouse. They're not wanting to be
No.
on my keyboard. They're focused on something. I find that incredibly useful. I've also got this, and again, I'm going to have to hold this up. It's supposed to be a wrist rest. I'm going to hold it up again.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a wrist rest, but it's like really, really
Squishy.
cushioned.
Yeah.
So again, rather than having my hand on a keyboard pressing into keys, I have this that I just keep to one side. So I think that I agree with this from Dean, that I think that the use of fidgets to be able to regulate yourself and help keep that focus, regardless of being neurodiverse or anything like that,
Yes.
can be incredibly important.
Really important. And it helps to keep the brain ticking over. So I saw something where these figures might not be accurate, but it's roughly around these numbers. There was some sort of information shared where neurodivergent brains need 100 and I think it was like 115, 120% stimulation to be
Yeah.
able to focus. So it needs to be doing a little bit more than what is seen as normal, I think. Now I've just checked in my bag. I don't have it on me. I have fidget rings. So
All
I
right.
have a series of little rings where the tops spin and I can spin them with my
Yeah.
fingers and I can, just twiddle with them and fiddle with them basically.
Yeah.
But that looks like a normal piece of jewelry. So it
Yeah.
just blends into society, I suppose. And I haven't bought it to blend into society. I do like my rings. So that one's just, it accommodates a certain need for me to flick on my rings.
Yeah.
Fidgets in school, I do think they are necessary. I do get the concern around potentially certain students misusing them.
Yeah. I
But
suppose
I
like
think that the use of somebody who needs them outweighs the use of somebody misusing them.
yeah.
So my daughter, she has different types of fidgets. She has clicky fidgets, and I get clicky fidgets can be distracting. Like I find clicky noises very distracting, and once I've honed in on it, I cannot
Yeah.
zone back
Like
out of it.
this pen's quite like when you start with it, it's quite noisy.
Yeah, I think if I sat next to you all day and you were doing that, I think I'd be like, "Oh my god, that's driving me insane."
Yeah.
Over time, or then eventually I might drown it out. But yeah, so she's got some clicky ones. We've got some like they look like long little worms, but they're like a bit more stretchy, and you can kind of wrap them around your fingers. So I think having different things, because the thing as well is one of the things I always tell people, neurodivergent or otherwise, but obviously I work with mainly neurodivergent people, is you need a rotation of support.
Yeah.
So one thing that might work one week won't necessarily work the next week. So,
Yeah.
the clickiness might be something that works one day, but then the soft spongy one you've got might work for a different
Yeah.
thing.
Oh,
And
definitely.
it really depends. Like you can't just say one size fits all and everyone just
Yeah.
needs one of these spinny fidget things. It's not like that. It's, somebody might need the sensoriness of the touch.
Yeah.
And when I do my workshops, I bring a whole bunch of different sensory gadgets in and toys and things for people
Yeah.
to feel. Some people like I've got these little ones that like stick to the desk
Yeah. Yeah.
and you can just like run your fingers and thumb over it. And some of
Yeah.
them are spiky, some of them are bobbly. And those things can really help to get the brain to just focus on what it needs to, because then also when you can hyper focus,
Yeah.
that person get more work done
Exactly.
in such a short space of time in
Yeah.
comparison to a lot of other people. You know what I mean? Tight deadlines, they
Yeah.
work really, really well as well.
I mean, we're talking about this now, and I keep thinking of other things I end up doing through the day. So, random thing. I've talked about this before. Random thing. I keep. Oh, there we go. I keep a screwdriver in my pocket.
Okay.
Sounds really weird. Yes, I do keep a screwdriver in my pocket, but it's one of those like ratcheting screwdrivers.
Okay.
And this is another
Spin.
thing. It like pokes out the top of my pocket, and every now and again I like click it like like and
You playing a little tune in your head as well while you're doing it. Yeah.
yes, it's another thing that I just find myself okay. Yeah, I'm fidgeting with that, and I've just realised that once upon a time this was a matte finish, and I keep it in my pocket so much, and I fiddle with it so much that it's now shiny. Cool. All right. Anyway, that's slightly off topic.
Thanks, Dean.
Yes, Dean has actually said, I will bring you both one of the Ambispace fidget pens
Awesome.
next time
I
I
need to
see
come
you
to
at an
Bambi
event.
Space anyway.
There we go, Dean. We need to arrange a meeting.
I need to bring him a plant.
Yes, but yes, no, that's it's fantastic to be able to hear more about everything that you do. I mean, can you tell me a little bit more about some of the other things that you've been doing recently, or anything that you've got coming up, maybe that might be interesting for people to hear about?
Oh, that one's put me on the spot. Let me think, what have I been up to? I don't know what I've been up to. I mean, I delivered for the Doncaster Launchpad as well, so I
Yeah.
am part of the chamber.
Yep.
So I've
It's how we met actually
it
through
is
chamber events, isn't it?
it is, yeah. I think I first saw you at one of the marketing forums
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, and I was really nervous. I sat on your
When it
table.
was an independent one, because I started the marketing forum before it was even a Doncaster chamber event.
Yeah, I think it was, and I came and sat on your. I remember sitting on your table
Yeah.
specifically, and then over time, like you say, we've seen each other more. Um, so yeah, so at the minute, I'm really just trying to get out there more
Yeah.
and get more people to experience the neurodiversity training, ask the questions, because I think a lot of the time as well, like once I've delivered the ones I've delivered to previously,
Yeah.
you always get people who are so nervous to ask the questions because they're so
Oh yeah.
worried about offending people. And as somebody who's neurodivergent, I'm not easily offended anyway. But I'd rather you ask me than make assumptions
Yeah.
and make an ass out of both of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, create those safe spaces. I want people to know that, you know, by working with neurodivergent people, you're not lowering standards,
No, definitely
not
not.
we're helping expectations be more clear and achievable, and
Yeah.
actually helping that person to find where their, you called it a superpower earlier. Some people don't like that term, but find where their superpower is,
Yeah.
because oftentimes they recognize patterns quicker than
Yeah.
neurotypical people. They notice things quicker. They can work quicker in different environments. They
Yeah.
can work more productive in different environments, but then they need a little bit more downtime to
Yeah.
transition, like we've spoken about.
Yeah.
So my mission at the minute is trying to raise not just awareness. I don't just want it to be a tick box of, oh yeah, we had somebody come in and talk
Yeah.
about it. That is important, but it's also what real changes can you make. I was talking to a company previously, and they were saying that they get really disturbed on a Tuesday because that's when everybody's in the office.
Yeah.
Everybody just knocks on the door and they can't get the work done. And we just spoke about what it would look like if, for a couple of hours, they had like a little check-in.
Yeah.
They just opened their diary and said, look, if you want to meet me, please check in. I've got
Yeah.
an open door policy, but constant distractions are really difficult. So,
Yeah.
if you need to see me, book in, and those things then just mean that people aren't sat around waiting for somebody else to jump out, for somebody else to jump in, because then they need that time to be able to actually do the work that
Yeah.
somebody's come to them with.
And also then decompress off of the back of things as well.
Exactly. And then, in the afternoon, maybe have a quiet hour where between 2 and 3, nobody talks to anybody
Yeah.
and everybody just gets on with work. And
Exactly.
that supports everybody. So it's looking at the way, actionable steps that can be taken to improve everybody's time at work.
Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely. If people wanted to get in contact with you, maybe to arrange, come along, do a talk or sit down with management teams and help talk through some of these things and see what processes and steps that they can put in place to be able to improve things in their workplace, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, there's my website that is up and running, and I never really launched it. I just kind of did it.
Just like,
Just telling you now that it's available. Yeah, so literally, there's my website, which is just my name, breefox.co.uk.
Yep.
You can find me on LinkedIn as well. On the website, there are some free resources. There's a really good resource about neurodiversity in the workplace, which you can download, and it gives different perspectives on how to support neurodiversity in the
Yeah.
workplace. And it comes from both perspectives of being an employee and what
Yeah.
you can do, and then being an employer and how you can support them, because we've got to understand that it's everybody's responsibility.
Yes.
It's not just on the person
It's
who,
not just the manager, it's not
yeah,
just the person, it's not just the owner of the business. It's a
yeah,
widespread thing. It's a culture of the business.
it is. And there's like, there's certain, I think there's about 5 or 6 different um typical difficulties in the workplace,
Yeah.
and how both parties can approach that to hopefully make those conversations easier to have, and then improve reduce the burnout, and to improve how they work and communicate with one another.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's my LinkedIn, there's my website. But yeah, literally you can just drop me a DM, and if you're local, we can have a coffee, we can have a chat on the phone and just see what the needs of the business are, because it's not a one size fits all, because not all ADHD people are the same, not all autistic people are the same, or, everything is different. I think that's one of the other things that gets misconstrued, is that, oh well, ADHD is this and autism is that, and actually there's such a
so many things to consider.
yeah.
So many different things
And
to
you might
consider.
have different needs. You know, there's some companies where I'll go in and I'll speak to HR first and we'll look at what policies they've got in place and,
Yeah.
you know, or we'll speak to the team manager so they can ask those really frank conversations that might potentially offend an employee. You know, they can have those conversations and then we filter it down into the, you know, their teams rather
Yeah.
than just their team managers. And then everybody knows how to support each other. And you've got to put the safeguarding in place as well. You've got to put the safety work to make sure that when you deliver these sessions or people are in these sessions, it might bring questions up, like when you went through your diagnosis with your son.
Yeah.
It's oh, is this me as well? And it may raise some more questions that they then need to seek and be signposted onto the right people to get
Yeah.
the support there as well. So, you know, it's not just as simple as this is and this. It's quite a big, when you really go into it, it's quite a big scope of work that could happen within your workplace. It's not a
Yeah.
difficult piece of work. It's just knowing where to go and how to do that effectively for everybody involved. And that's,
Exactly.
you know, kind of where I come in and do that.
Well, no, it's fantastic to hear about the work that you've been doing. It's fantastic to hear how you've been supporting people and businesses, and like I say, this is the longest that we've had the opportunity to sit down and
It
have
is, yeah, it's
a
really
proper
good.
chat about everything, and it's really, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm losing my words at this point in the show, but it's lovely to hear that there are people such as yourself that are supporting people and businesses across the local region to be able to help create a culture similar to how we've got here. Like I said before, I love the culture that we've got here. We have a very inclusive workplace. We've got people with a range of neurodiverse needs. Of course, being the IT and cybersecurity industry, it kind of comes with the territory almost. You don't really expect it, but once you look into it a little bit more, there are many people with a range of different neurodiverse considerations.
Yeah.
And it's just, whilst I know that we do fantastic work here, I also know that not every business has that same sort of process in place and same culture in place. And for someone like yourself, being able to support people to be able to put the right processes and tools in place, it's fantastic. And like I say, I've spoken to a few people recently who do a range of different things. I spoke with Kevin at Ambispace. I
Yeah.
spoke with or Adam at Fastline, who does a lot around his own network around neurodivergence as well. And it's fantastic to hear that there's people around here that are supporting people in those sorts of respects. So no, thank you very much for telling me about it all and telling the audience about it all. Like I say, this is available live, people tuning in, but also available on demand if people want to be able to come back and tune. I'll be able to create some shorts out of some of these. So um, thank you very much for popping along today. Thank you for coming out for a chat and sharing your thoughts on a range of IT topics, which I know not everyone finds the most interesting in the world, but also talking about burnout and talking about everything that you do as well. So yeah, no, thank you very, very much. And like I say, thank you for my lovely little plant.
Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it, and you're very welcome for your plan.
Thank you very much. But yes, that's it for this week. I'm actually off next week. It's a planned week off.
Ooh, nice.
It's my first week off of the year, so I'm looking forward to having a little bit of relaxing time with the kids now that they're off school. I will be back in 2 weeks' time. If there are any marketing people out there, by the way, I do have the first slot for the podcast after I'm back from annual leave available if anyone wants to be a guest. And in that one, I would like for it to be a marketing person, because the topic as part of the 24 top tip topic of the week, I did it that time,
Well done.
is actually highly related to marketing. So I would love to be able to hear from some marketing people if you'd like to be a guest that week. I'm trying to think of what date it would be, and I realise that my phone is currently showing Bree what the the actual show for that week. So I'm going to see if I can very quickly remember
12th.
what date it is. The 12th? The 12th. That sounds like it's the right date.
Wednesday the 12th, I think.
Yes. So if anyone is available Wednesday, the 12th of August, please drop me a message over on LinkedIn and we'll get something booked in. So, yes, thank you very much again, Bree, for popping by. And for everyone else, I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week.